Welcome back from that short break. It will be interesting to see the outcome of that investigative hearing and get to understand the recommendations the Joint Committee will put forward on ways to address the challenges of fuel scarcity in the country. Our next report looks at the New Year message of President Muhammadu Buhari and the reactions trailing it from federal lawmakers.
Our government's watchword and policy's rest is change.
On the 1st of January 2018, President Muhammadu Buhari addressed the country through a television broadcast in what was his New Year message. In this speech, the president wished Nigerians a happy New Year and also touched on some topical issues. Federal legislators have been reacting to the speech.
Well, my first impression is that I think the president did a very good job. He addressed issues that were uppermost in the minds of Nigerians, beginning with, of course, the challenges of mobility during the festive period occasioned by the fuel scarcity, which in my opinion was is something that happens every December. People try to exploit the mass movement of Nigerians to make money. And the president stated as much in his address. But I think we need to go beyond that. We need to identify the saboteurs. We need to identify those who profited from that mass punishment that was given to our countrymen and women. And we need to punish them and recover that money from them.
I had all that I'm expecting. It's a serious party, man. One of the greatest impediments in this democracy is allowing it to operate or work. You can see the president has spoken out on where we feel we are lagging behind. You see, we are only a 2-year-old government, and people seem to compare us with a 16-year-old government. I feel the comparison is not there.
In the speech, the president also promised that government will make significant inroads in advancing road, rail and power projects across the country.
Infrastructure, to me, energy is very critical. And we want to see how the president will run it, in this budget year. Especially, I have always felt pain in me as to capital budget implementation. If, for example, we are hearing, even when budget were approved by the National Assembly in March, or February or April. And in December, we are still talking about 30 to 35% capital expenditure implementation. Whereas it has never been like that in recurrent. Recurrent 90, 95%, 100%. Two parts of a budget. 100% implemented, 130%, 35%. And that 30% to 35% implementation, that's the one that touched directly on the people themselves, because recurrent is about salary, it's about vehicle and all those other things. So those who will benefit from that, they are far, far less than those who will benefit from capital expenditure. So that is how what I'm looking at, in 2018 from the budget, from the speech of Mr. President, how he will handle that, so that this power will improve.
I was happy to see the emphasis on power. I was also happy to see the emphasis on using the Sukuk bonds to construct major highways across the country. But as chairman of the Senate Committee on the Federal Roads Maintenance Agency, I was particularly happy to see the president weigh in on the whole issue of maintaining highways in this country. But the challenge of maintaining our highways has always been funding. And there is a law that requires that some percentage of the cost of petroleum products should be paid over to FEMA for the maintenance of federal roads. And the president having harped on it, I believe that we could have gone further to insist that those releases should be made, so that we don't just construct roads and allow them to fall apart.
One part of the speech that attracts the most attention is the president's reference to the ongoing debate on restructuring and his position on the matter. The president says, we Nigerians can be very impatient and want to improve our conditions faster than may be possible, considering our resources and capabilities. When all the aggregates of nationwide opinions are considered, my firm view is that our problems are more to do with process than structure.
That to say we should be patient. The question is for how long are we going to be patient? Before now, even though when I was young, in the 50s to 60s, there was formal restructuring was not pronounced, but Nigerians were developing. Nigeria was developing based on competition, healthy competition. People were developing. What happened then? There was, when you produce, you retain, say, 50% of what comes from you and pass 50% to federal for common services like the army, the security, the electricity, and all those things that are federal. So, but now that we say everybody should come to Abuja every time for handouts at the end of the month, nothing to inspire competition on ground. So that's why we call it power devolution or restructuring. People interpreted restructuring like secession. It's not, to me, it is not secession. It's a question of you controlling 50% of the resources we have for healthy competition, and none of the 36 states in Nigeria does not have, these resources.
Like I have said from the beginning, the word restructuring means different things to different people, and I think the president contributed healthily to the debate by trying to outline what he thinks the main challenges of our country should be at this point in time. He talked about the fact that of efficiency. He talked about corruption. He talked about the fact that whatever system we adopt, if we don't reduce the cost of governance and improve the efficiency of governance, we will still be where we are.
The issue of structure is becoming an issue just now because the processes have failed over the years and we've not been able to address that issue. Otherwise, the processes are actually, very, very important. If well implemented all these years, then the need for restructuring would not have arisen in the first place. But it has become a matter of exigency just now for us to begin to look at how to restructure. I, however, don't believe that an improperly restructured a project is the solution to a problem. It has to be properly done. Because if you ask me, if South-South is to go as a region where I come from, simply just going without having the right processes, the right attitude, and the right dispositions, if you ask South-South to go, you begin to know in the South-South which area is called Niger Delta and which area is not called Niger Delta. You begin to see which area is oil producing and which area is not oil producing. So the sentiments will still reverberate. People will still keep talking about restructuring even within those regions, except to get both the structure and the processes right.
There's no ambiguity at all as to what Nigerians are talking about restructuring. The fact of the matter is this, very squarely. How did we get to this level? How did we get to this quasi-federalism that we are practicing in Nigeria? What was it at independence? We had an agreement, we had a constitution that takes into consideration our various ethnicities, that takes into our geopolitical differences, and it was put in place. We were moving smoothly until suddenly in 1965-66 when the military struck. That is the issue. So there is no ambiguity at all. All we are asking and all people are agitating for is that Nigeria should go back to fiscal federalism. That is the restructuring.
So, what do you make of the president's New Year message? Do you agree or disagree with the views of those lawmakers? Let's have your thoughts through any of the addresses on the screen. Now, what could be the high points of this year in the National Assembly? Well, the 2018 budget, for one, that is still before the lawmakers and it's yet to be passed. Another bill is the Petroleum Industry Bill, which is yet to be passed by this Assembly almost 3 years into their 4-year mandate. I'm sure you also remember work is ongoing on the proposed amendments to the 1999 Constitution. The bills are presently before the state houses of assembly, and it is expected that the document will be passed this year if all goes well. So much to look forward to this year in the National Assembly. But for now, that is it for this week on the program. Thanks for staying with us. I'm Lanre Lasese. Take care.